Hello, my name is Josh Jackson, and I recently conducted a survey and wrote an essay over police brutality and how people perceive that and what they think about it. And I interviewed seven police officers and seven civilians, and the questions were: how common does race impact police encounters? I said very common, slightly common, average, uncommon, very common. Second question was, do you believe officers are abusing their power? Yes and no. Uh, Third was, how safe do you feel around police officers? Another yes and no. And do you feel police act different when video cameras are involved? Another one. Fifth, do you think police should be required to wear body cameras? And six, do you feel citizens should be more informed of their rights while dealing with police? Now, the the results are they're kind of fascinating. Some people might not think so, but on the first questions, 4 out of 7 of civilians said it was either common or very common, while officers were the opposite and actually gave an explanation on why. One of them actually said race does not have anything to do with it. There are some neighborhoods that may be primarily one race with a high crime rate. The second question I said was a majority of the civilians said no. They're, and they are not, and the same goes for cops. One person said that they thought maybe a few dirty cops, but that abuse their power, but that doesn't spoil the whole batch. The media sees them and just thinks all cops are corrupt, which everyone knows that is not true. And the third question said actually every person I asked said yes, they do feel safe and protected around police officers, which the people I did interview were a few were my family members as cops, and then others were either family members or I knew them as family friends. And every single one of them said they feel safe around police officers. So the fourth question, civilians and police officers had an opinion. More than once, people said cops would have to do their jobs no matter what, even if that means letting people off for a ticket. So, I mean, if you have a video camera and you're giving people slack, I mean, some civilians think that's not great, and cops are going to crack down on it. The fifth question, the civilians were all for it, but some police officers were biased about it. And the last question, everyone agreed on saying that they should know more about their rights, which that could either be during it or one police officer, which he was a police officer, now he actually teaches criminal justice. He said that they can learn on their rights even before that. Everyone should know, or he thinks everyone should know more about their rights, and which I do understand that. A few examples of police brutality, since I talked about the essay. Everyone knows about Ferguson, of course, and it led to rioting. On November 24th, 2014, the St. Louis prosecutors did not indict Mr. Wilson. And this caused a huge uproar, which caused the riots. And what actually happened in Ferguson was Officer Wilson was officer on duty, and on August 9th, 2014, an 18-year-old African-American boy by the name Michael Brown was walking down the street with one of his friends when Officer Darren Wilson pulled up in his police cruiser. Mr. Brown's friends claimed that he walked up to the police officer Wilson's cruiser when he got into an argument. The friend states that the police officer made the first aggressive move to assault Brown. Brown fled, trying to escape the scene. While fleeing the scene, Officer Wilson shot Michael Brown in the back. Surrendering Brown raised his hands, aiming to turn towards the police officer when he was shot several times. Now, the officers proceeded shooting Brown and shot him in the face twice when finally killed him. The coronary said Mr. Brown was shot 6 times in total, in 1 the back, 2 in the face, and 3 in the arms. Now, okay, the police officer's perspective is different, of course. Um, Officer Wilson reported that he tried to get out of his car and Mr. Brown pushed him back in and punched him in the face. When the officer went for his gun, Mr. Brown tried grabbing it, as well as which led to shooting off in the car. Mr. Brown then proceeded to run. When the cop ordered him to freeze, he rushed him, and the officer Wilson fired the gun and killed the 18-year-old. Now, of course, all these are going to have both sides of the story, the cops and the people that are happening on it. And like I said, even after that, there was a huge riot, and it went on for, I don't even know how long. It went on for a while. There was another deal that outside a local gas station, there was two officers, Blaine, I can't pronounce the last name, Salamonia. He was 4 years department veteran, and Howie Lake, 3-year department veteran. They pulled up to a gas station where Mr. Sterling was and proceeded to get an argument. Mr. Sterling was selling CDs outside this gas station also. With him and tackled him to the ground. They pinned him to the ground. Someone yelled gun. After that, one of the officers pulled out his sidearm and shot Mr. Sterling in the back. He died on the scene. There's actually a video of this. It shows it and everything. You can look it up on YouTube. It's all on there. There were also multiple witnesses on the scene. One even had video footage, like I just said. And when I watched the video, it shows the officer and Mr. Sterling into an argument, and when they put him on the ground, you can hear someone yell gun. After you hear that, it shows one of the officers pull his weapon and shoot Mr. Sterling back. Same as Ferguson, this was a huge uproar. There was riots. Everyone got in an argument for I don't even know how long, but both these things have different perspectives: civilians, police officers, the victims, and so my survey, I wanted to see how exactly the civilians reacted compared to the police officers, and I think there was 3 or 4 police officers that I actually knew, 4 exactly, that I actually knew, and the rest were friends of the said police officers, while the civilians were either from Bethel or they were back home, so my friends, or my family friends, and I just think people should be more informed about police brutality and like the things that actually go on in like the society. Like, people just stick to one side. I think we should stick to both sides, and I think the survey kind of conducted that. Some people were kind of biased, and then other people were actually more like they kind of knew what they were talking about. Other people, they just went straight into like, oh, police are bad, which I don't agree on that. Like I said, there may be a few bad apples, but they're not all bad, of course. And I actually enjoyed this a whole lot. The survey was really great, and I'm just happy that we got to do this. Thank you.